What is it about the particular object that makes it so resonant? Because you're talking about one of the seminal moments in life, committing to another person, celebrating that partnership is extraordinary, independent of the token. Why don't we give our partners paintings or carpets or trips to Jamaica?
It has become tradition for many years, but if I were to break it down, it will be the strength of the diamond, the ability to own it forever and pass it down to the next generation, and the ability to own something that had value, higher value than probably something the young couple purchases, so the first large purchase. Somehow the value of it's natural and it is significant. We invested in it. It's going to be with us for the rest of our lives. Therefore, we're investing in our love and our future.
Welcome back to The Materialist. I am Mark Bridge, the founder and CEO of At Present, Matchmaker to Extraordinary Jewelry, and I am your host. For the second year, we are coming to you from the Super Bowl of jewelry, the Las Vegas jewelry shows. The entire world of jewelry in every stripe is here. And I have the pleasure today of sitting with a wonderful friend, Ivette Stephanopoulos. Good morning, Ivette.
Good morning, Mark.
Why did Las Vegas become the center of the jewelry world?
Having traveled the world and seeing other trade shows, Las Vegas has managed to bring in not just the best talented designers, new creative artists, but also the wonderful retailers who appreciate all that work, the wholesalers, and then manufacturers. And it just became this hub where if you are in this industry, you do visit and you do attend Las Vegas, whether you're here throughout the entire duration, visit all the shows, or you pick and choose whatever fits your business and interests more. But it also became this universe of what's new in my company, in my organization, or in the industry. And some of the biggest announcements usually are made during this week. Industry announcements, partnerships, acquisitions, everything. So it has become this, depending on how successful the show is for the industry, this has become the indicator of how the rest of the year, but more importantly, the holiday season will show itself.
I want to come back to where we are in the world of jewelry, but I want to touch first on your diverse and varied experience, and we'll talk a little bit about some of the fascinating places where you have been. But what hooked you on jewelry? What was the thing once upon a time that caught the glint in your eye?
It's a beautiful story. I do not come from a jewelry family. Nobody in my family has been in the industry. It started from a simple job that I needed while living in New York. I knew in New York. But the company that I joined, a very small retailer in New York, and the knowledge and experience I've gained through my leadership there and understanding ins and outs of this industry, the really why are we doing what we're doing? I think it came down to, I always like to tell people, and it's been 25 years and I still say the same, it's a happy industry to be in. I've joined in and stayed in an organization or in a company, in an industry, and tried and so many wonderful areas and explored so many different segments of this industry, and everything brings to the end point, a happy customer. You make someone's purchase and someone's experience and someone's celebration memorable. In a nutshell, you do make people happy and you do work with happy people.
Do you remember the first piece of jewelry that really made you understand the power of the category?
Yes, it was an engagement ring, as one could guess. An engagement ring to this wonderful young couple who were as new to the industry as I was in the industry, and we built this relationship and we're friends to this day. And the emotions that couple experienced throughout the process. And I felt like directly or indirectly, I had a little part of that happiness and that commitment to each other, the lifelong commitment, their expression of love. It was an engagement ring and, yes, a natural diamond.
What role did the object itself play? Because you're talking about one of the seminal moments in life, committing to another person, celebrating that partnership is extraordinary, independent of the token. Why don't we give our partners paintings or carpets or trips to Jamaica? What is it about the particular object that makes it so resonant?
In some ways, I would say it is a tradition. It has become tradition for many years. But if I were to break it down, it will be the strength of the diamond, the ability to own it forever and pass it down to the next generation, and the ability to own something that had value, higher value than probably something the young couple purchases before that anyway. So the first large purchase, somehow the value of it's natural and it is significant. We invested in it. It's going to be with us for the rest of our lives. Therefore, we're investing in our love and our future.
Your career has moved through several different forms of jewelry authority. You have been in the branded realm, you have been in the design realm, in the trust realm. As you look at each of these chapters, the places where you have been, whether it's David Yurman or the Gemological Institute, De Beers or Tiffany, do they feel connected to you?
That's a wonderful question. They did. With every next step I've taken throughout my career, they have become more connected. I found that connection for myself. I found that connection for the industry. And the way you then appreciate not what it is that you're selling, why are you selling, and the tremendous amount of work and people and communities that are involved in getting that final object ready for the end client is impeccable. The experience with retailer, you're understanding the client, but you do not know yet, in my case, where really things were coming from. I went through GIA, and GIA opened my eyes in a way that there is whole this world of what are we sharing and why are we sharing. And then with De Beers, it concluded to, let me show you what it is, how is it being sourced, and the tremendous impact it makes. So yes, everything is connected. Even though I've touched various segments of the industry, I feel super lucky and fortunate to have gone through that journey. So when I speak to anyone now, especially if it's a client, the story you can tell to the end client once you've gone through this type of in-depth experience through every step of the way, you are able to deliver it in a way that you're educating the client in a ways that one can never learn all those aspects or elements if trying to do it themselves.
I'm fascinated by this question of where does demand, where does desire come from? And part of it is intrinsic. As humans, we're drawn to shiny things. We're drawn to things that sparkle. But why one thing and not another? What is the magic of a diamond?
The rarity is the word that comes to mind because you're speaking for generations. It was rare. It was rare and expensive, so it attracted certain society, people who could afford it, right? And then it's sure shiny and beautiful, but it was status, and it still continues to be status in many ways. But the idea of owning something that's valuable, and the value comes from rarity. And I'm sure we can touch on that point shortly again, but something that's been underground for millions of years and now can potentially be on my finger. There is a sense of status and also a sense of accomplishment of some sort. So it's not a new phenomenon. It has been playing in same way with slight tweaks recently, but really in the same way of I can afford it, therefore my finger or my ears or my neck will be sparkling.
There is a history to it, and there's this idea of provenance, and there are various connotations to that word. All right, this is something that is natural, that came out of the earth, that is the product of millions or billions of years of geologic process. There's also the process of who touched it and where it has been along its journey. I'm just trying to conceptualize this sort of model that once upon a time, jewelry was mysterious. When you go back centuries, these sort of ideas that these were the products of the cosmos or the tears of the gods, that was part of the romance. Is that right?
Yeah, that was limited availability, therefore only kings and queens at some point were able to have it, and their crowns were made with gold. And then therefore, the more they had, the more that it indicated the wealth or the power of certain dynasty or certain kingdom. So people who touch it, now that we know more about it, we as an industry know more about it, and then we try to bring that information to the end consumer. But I know where you're going with it. So it has been this unique thing that you could potentially own or you did own, and your next question is probably going to be, is it unique enough?
No, maybe that's part of the question, but I think part of the question is one of the relationship between transparency and allure. And if we are in the allure business, if we are in the making of meaning business, where does that come from ephemerally or emotionally? And how does that tie to where does that come from physically?
See, probably 5 years ago, this answer would be a little different, but I feel that it's all connected now. I don't think you can separate it anymore. Sure, you're going to have this emotional element that's not going away. It's still, at the end of the day, is an emotional purchase. Whether you're buying an engagement ring, you're buying high jewelry has high ticket price, or you're buying something for the creative element of it. But the way it has merged, or the way our industry where our industry stands right now, is we have so much more information at our fingertips because we did go to mines and we do know who's working and we do know this incredible impact in those communities, and then the manufacturing process and who is really literally touching your stone. So it's almost impossible now to not combine those two and present it in a packaged manner where a consumer understands all of it and still makes an emotional purchase. But I believe it's no longer, it's just beautiful.
How much information do I need, and what is the right information when I'm making a purchase?
Need is an interesting word because there will be so many interesting conversations around the table, especially this week, right? With industry being in Las Vegas and brainstorming around what works, what doesn't, and why things work. One would ask, when I was with De Beers, origin was the big topic of conversation. I was heading that program for the North America, and there would be a lot of comments from the retailers, in fact, saying, but customer doesn't ask for it. We don't need that information. Customer doesn't know what he doesn't know, is my approach. And while information is everywhere and access to information is rather easy now, I think as an industry, it is our responsibility to share packaged, sensible size of information, digestible information that will highlight importance of their purchase, not just how wonderful it will look on a client, but really how many people were impacted along the way. I think origin will be an important thing to share. Whether client ends up really understanding or appreciating that information or feeling that it was important, I think we have that responsibility as an industry to share. And then you have much more to share if one is interested, but there is a bare minimum of people element, people that are part of this journey. I think if we share the people element, humans just operate that way. They do care about other humans and all those stories that come a long way.
We talk about a jewelry industry, and I don't know what the numbers are now, $300 billion or something around the world. It's a big business, but there's lots of segments, facets, if we're not going to be too cute or maybe be too cute about it. You've operated in a number of these spaces. How similar is selling a Jane Seymour pendant to selling a piece of high jewelry?
Very different. So there is this segment also relying a little bit on different generations and depending on trends and then desire and what's going on in the world at the moment too, quite frankly. High jewelry there is a client for high jewelry that grew to that level.
For those who don't know, take us into the world of high jewelry. What does that mean? I hear that and I think big, shiny, expensive, very closed off to most people. What is that world like? And
high jewelry would be considered something that has a creative element, the gemstone element. That's usually rare and extremely valuable. And then there is the brand element that is being added on, which comes with a cost as always. But then you, as a consumer, have this comfort, if you will, of knowing what you're purchasing. You trust the brand. You can always come back to the brand. It feels like it will sustain its value, perhaps slightly more. If you purchase a high jewelry, you do want to understand that value element. What will it look like in 5, 10, 50 years from now?
Is high jewelry by definition a price point? Is it a unique piece? What categorizes something?
It's a combination. Usually it's unique because of a rare gemstone would be involved in it. One large or multiple rare gemstones, whether it's colored diamonds or colored stones. But yes, therefore, naturally, the ticket or the price will also be high. So if I were to simplify it, in some organizations, anything $50,000 and above would be considered high jewelry, and others, 100 and above would be considered high jewelry. Also, those pieces that are made in very limited quantities, at times only one of a kind, that will be the extreme end, even higher in terms of its value or appreciation value sometimes. So anything 50,000 and above and an average brand, that would be considered high jewelry.
And for that customer, do they approach that purchase differently? What is the motivation to participate in this world?
It's how brands approach consumers and how brands position. It's really, I think, if one can afford high jewelry, whether it's because they just love wearing jewelry, beautiful pieces, and they have occasions to wear them too, they can afford them, and also knowing what they're purchasing, right? So it's many times brands' position to cultivate that client group that has the interest and give them the experience. And I say experience because it's not selling. It is the experience of living through the high jewelry journey. We'll show you where this was made, and here is the person who made this unique piece, and here is the designer who designed the piece, and he or she designed it on this mountains or in this village and inspired by certain things. So it's let me present to you from brand perspective to a consumer, these are all the reasons why this piece is unique, and here is why the price is what it is, even though many times price is not the first thing. If anything, it's probably one of the last things. It's once you give that experience and understanding and also the inclusivity to the consumer to a place or in a little kind of hub where not everyone has access to. Again, human nature, exclusivity, sense of belonging. I belong to this group. I was selected to be part of this experience. Purchase really is a natural next step without selling too hard, if you will.
Is there a difference between something that's expensive and something that's important?
That's interesting. Yes, there is difference. Important when it comes to high jewelry. So what is important about high jewelry? It's important that I have cashmere sapphire. Is important that I have a 20-carat necklace on my neck, right? Is it important? No. It's important for sense of belonging, for the status is why it's important. Because if you talk about important, then it's an important piece because it has sentimental value for some reason. I'm purchasing a diamond because I'm replacing something that was gifted to me and I lost it. There is this importance of, depends how you would describe importance, but I will have to say it's not necessarily important. It's really sense of, it's important from personal reasons, part of belonging, but it's not important to own it, if you will.
Auction houses often use that term. Here is something, an important piece or a very important piece. Is that just a marketing way of saying you get another zero attached to this?
It's their way of saying it is unique. It is no longer being produced. So the collection, let's say, it can be a Cartier piece that no longer exists. So it's an important piece going through auction because you cannot purchase it elsewhere. This is the last of 10 that were ever produced. So importance in auction houses will come with would correlate with the word rare.
I think that you and I both share a deep emotional connection to the product and what it does and the beauty of it. But as we're talking about where things come from and who it touches and changes in technology, we get into much more intellectual or pragmatic or cold conversations. And I feel like so much of the conversation over the last 5 or 10 years about natural diamonds versus lab-grown diamonds has come from a place of being very defensive or performative. Do you think that's right?
Yeah, I think defensive probably will be a good word to use. Also, undermining the work we just mentioned, right? The work in the communities, the work that's nature done for millions of years. So it is certainly a topic of conversation. Defensive because we do, as an industry, we believe in natural diamonds and we want to continue increasing the impact of natural diamond by communicating everything we know to the end consumer. And I think as an industry, again, we're trying, but we have not done a wonderful job in the past 10, 15 years educating the consumer on natural diamonds. So while not doing so, lab-grown diamond took its market share and found its consumer. And in many cases, it's very difficult to transition. Once you purchase a lab-grown diamond, it is very difficult to convert the client back to natural diamonds, but it's possible if our communication with the consumer and information that we're sharing really has the value element strong enough and convincing enough. That's the job a lot of our industry organizations are doing now. But the defense element is certainly there because it from business standpoint, many organizations are making beautiful margins while selling lab-grown diamonds, and now on the fence of whether they want to go back or support the natural diamond conversations as much. Personal opinion is everything will fall in its place. It will never go back where it was. It will just be a beautiful, little smaller group of people who believe and will continue having their passion and love and interest in natural diamonds. It's just a very different world in our industry, and we just need to learn how to embrace it and continue moving forward.
Give us the state of the world right now. Where is the market? Have we bifurcated to a point where there is a high-end, traditional, I don't even know what the right word is, customer, retailer, brand perspective on one side, and then there is a commodity-driven, lowest common denominator on the other, or is it more complicated than that?
That's pretty well said. I would add so you have different generations and different income levels. And I say generation because it's not just an income level, but it's also where their interest lies today. The beauty of all of this is people continue buying jewelry and they love jewelry. That's the beauty. Is what kind of jewelry are we going to slightly lower price point and layering 5 chains instead of investing same amount in a large, heavy, solid gold chain, right? That would be an example. So those are trends. So there is market there. But right now, brands are doing wonderfully with high jewelry. So there is a different segment. We also have
just to put a finer point on it, everything that's happening in the high jewelry realm, nobody is moving away from. These are pure, natural, untreated.
Even more, exactly. So the brands don't touch necessarily lab-grown. They don't work with lab-grown. But the importance of speaking to all those rare elements and how natural it is, now we can tell you where your diamond comes from. We can tell you more about the gold, right? We have all that information. That importance is that much higher. So high jewelry is selling. It's top 2% of global population. That will spend $500,000, million or more so on a beautiful anniversary ring. And all of those elements are important in high jewelry world. And then you have creative trends that are continuing to sell. So the classic understanding of classic jewelry has shifted a little bit. It looks different, it feels different. Sometimes gold is being replaced due to gold prices in current state. So the good news is jewelry is selling. I feel like it is high jewelry and everything else at the moment. And then the brand value seems to be having a really big momentum, most likely because of the trust element.
It seems to me that David Yurman is the only American brand in the last 50 years that has developed a meaningful market. And they don't focus on materials. They focus on design. True, and is that meaningful in some way?
That is true. Very meaningful. The loyal clients David Yurman has is unlike anything else I've seen throughout my career. Being an American designer, American brand, that's an extremely important selling point. That's always been one. Design is what sells, you're right. It's very little focus on metal. Of course, information is available and is being shared with the customer, but really it's design, creativity. Mr. Yurman designed that. Sybil Yurman designed that. When I was with the company, we were really trying to move forward the wedding category, which was very new for the organization at the time. And it wasn't necessarily about what diamond is in the center. Of course, you have information you share, but it was not. It's the love story between Mr. and Mrs. Yurman. It was how they met and how their lives intertwined. And it's the story of living American designer that sells and that helped that brand grow. And they're fantastic designers, fantastic talent on the team. That's one beautiful example of what American brand should look like.
Why aren't there more David Yurmans? Why aren't there more American brands that have come to the fore on the basis of design?
I like to say, having known Mr. Yurman, Sybil Yurman very well, I like to say they're just wonderful, and they're close with their customers, with their clients, and they'll attend events, and they're so approachable. And I think people over the years, their customers got to see that and feel it firsthand. But the other answer would be, there is something for everyone at David Yurman. You can be a 16-year-old and walk away with a $300 silver David Yurman bracelet, and that will be your first purchase, and you'll have it for many years to come. I always liked it. When I was joining the brand many years ago, that was one of the key reasons I was joining, because the wide range of demographic they attract. They started with silver originally, right? And then they had a silver ice, so the diamonds on silver, which kept the price point low. And there is something for everyone would be my answer, outside of just who the Yurmans are.
I'm poking at this because I think I have an underlying belief or hypothesis that one of the things that's held the jewelry industry back is an obsession with materials. And the fact that we have now spent X number of decades bludgeoning each other over the diamond question, and the enormous dislocation that has been the product of increase in gold prices and changes in silver prices suggests to me that the problem is not materials. The problem is a lack of creativity, and the problem is a lack of storytelling and a lack of actually connecting with what consumers care about rather than what the supply side is organized around.
No question, the lack of storytelling has been the issue in the past 15 years. Do smaller brands are starting to do a better job with it now? Yes, but then the campaign will come out and you'll see the campaign, you're like, oh, that's beautiful, but what is the story? It's still not fully there. So what you're saying is absolutely accurate. Perhaps lack of creativity, perhaps lack of passion in a way that translates or transfers to the customer. The customer has to feel that creativity, and it's a really labor of love. But I would say materials have become more important recently, especially with the lab grown. The information on natural diamonds has become that much more important to relate. But the storytelling or romancing the piece is really crucial, and that's what David Yurman does well, and that's where a lot of brands lack, unfortunately. They try, but romancing the design, romancing the creator, romancing versus it's just gold. Because right now, is it really gold? Is it pure gold? Is it cover? Is it layered? Because you can see a lot of conversations like this I hear recently. Gold is so expensive, it must not be gold. It's probably just gold plated. So now we have this.
Therefore what? What does that mean?
Therefore, what am I paying for? So now, meaning it might be okay and it might not be as important, but if you're going to speak about metal, then it's going to open additional questions. But if you like the piece and you like the story that was part of creating this piece,
and you like when you put it on how it makes you feel,
and it's an emotional purchase. Do I need to know that many details before I make my emotional purchase? No. I need to know more. Again, on diamonds, it's a different area that our industry is working on, as you know well.
But I think the hierarchy is wrong. When we look at other industries, arguably industries that have been more successful than ours, if we look at fashion, if we look at handbags, we look at technology, materials are part of the conversation. Okay, this is a box calf Birkin, or this is a crocodile Birkin. That is part of the story, but the point is that it is a Birkin, and Birkin is made by Hermes, and these are all of the associations that come with it. So the ingredients, the materials have to be consistent with the story. But I just continue to be struck by how often I will sit down, even with jewelry designers, and they'll show me a collection, and the first thing that they will say is, it's 18 karat. Okay, I'm supposed to take some meaning from you telling me that piece of information before I connect with, what is this piece? Why does it exist? what role does it play, that there's still this, all right, you should be impressed because I used whatever.
Certain material. That's certainly fair point, focusing on design. So designers, new designers, there's so many wonderful rising stars really in our industry when they create jewelry.
Who are you admiring at the moment?
Rima has this, I should remember her last name, of course. She creates this incredible jewelry. She does use some desert diamonds, right? So you bring in a little warmer tone, warmer colors. But anytime someone says, I make this myself, and I don't know if she does, but I met another designer from California yesterday, and she says, she had every single finger covered in rings, and they were stunning. And she says, I make this myself. I said, yourself? She goes, yes, I make every single. And that's all she needed to say. I can buy 4 of them, right? Because I know the work goes into it. So sure, you can't have a big brand and make everything yourself with hand. I understand that, but certainly not. Material shouldn't be the selling point, nor it is. It never is. All it does, it justifies the price point.
I think that's right. I want to touch on one other interesting part of your career, which is you've been deeply involved in the Armenian jewelry community. Tell us about that.
Oh, that's a really close, warm to my heart work that I do. I'm the current president of the Armenian Jewelers Association. It's a global association, and it started in '97 originally. Founders are dear friends of mine. And the reason it's so significant, because there are Armenians in jewelry industry, again, in every facet of this industry, from anyone from like even Van Cleef's and Tiffany. There's so many Armenians that make those incredible jewelry pieces. And then you have bigger organizations like the Arslanyan. You have a range, but they're all scattered everywhere in the globe. So the mission of our association is to unite them and to create a platform where they can work with each other, hire within, share experiences, and then give back to our motherland, Armenia, to help jewelry industry to grow and expand there.
For so many cultures, jewelry is not just about adornment. There's memory and inheritance and portability, survival and identity. Are there unique roles that jewelry plays in Armenian culture?
Yes, it's always been, Armenia is not unique in a way that gold has always been viewed, or gold jewelry has always been viewed as a sign of wealth, but also if I ever need to sell it, it's savings, really. That's how people would save their money or for their retirement as well. But Armenian designs and creativity comes from generations. There were Armenians designing jewelry for kings and queens, but the Armenian craftsman has been in any brand you can think of, and as far back as you want to go back. It's really, you have Armenians either selling those pieces to customers or making and creating. So creativity and talent, I think it's number one. The designs that come out from Armenia and now is part of the mission of our association is giving them this global platform. We have few Armenian designers that are exhibiting here at JCK this year. We have incredible talent that are exhibiting at Couture, and it is part of the tradition. That's why when you're Armenian, you say you're in jewelry, they just assume you come from a generational jewelry family, which is not in my case, and I don't necessarily create jewelry. There's a wonderful amount of talent, and we just came back from Genève Jewelry Show where we exhibited 5 winning designers. We have annual competition, and we have article in Forbes, we have article in Rappaport, so it's just beautiful way to give this exposure to the talent that might not have been seen otherwise.
Is there a part of diasporic cultures and jewelry? My familiarity is much more toward the Jewish diaspora and the multiple generations and how important jewelry trading and making and owning and carrying with you is.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Armenian diaspora is extremely strong. Just to give you quick numbers to imagine that, there are only 3 million Armenians in Armenia and 11 million outside of Armenia, right? With that said, U.S. has the largest Armenian diaspora, followed by Canada, and everywhere else there is no country in Armenia, in the world that doesn't have a little community at least.
How many live in the United States? Are there more Armenians in the United States today than in Armenia?
Yes. Well, almost, I think. Glendale alone is at 1.5 million. Yes. And then between the rest of the U.S. and Canada, probably we're at 2.5, yes. And that's just this part of the world.
It's so interesting. And I don't know what groups end up in particular spaces. Are there unique needs for the Armenian jewelry community?
The current need is really the ability, or to give them platform to be able to showcase their talent, and then also bring in some manufacturing opportunities to Armenia. We're working closely with different organizations from outside, but also with the Ministry of Economy internally in Armenia to find those pathways where we can not just bring 5 designers to Geneva or a few people to JCK, but really give them the platform. Also, with current tariffs, there's only 10% tariff in Armenia to export, so it's a wonderful opportunity for any manufacturing work that can be taken in, and the quality is, as always, really impeccable with them. They work with gold and silver.
You've seen, I was going to say both, but many sides of the jewelry world, the great houses that have history and infrastructure, and also emerging designers and heritage communities trying to earn attention. What can independent designers learn from the great houses, and what should the great houses learn from the independent designers?
Oh, that is such a great question. They certainly have learnings both ways, but emerging designers are bringing such a unique touch to everything they're doing, right? And you don't feel the uniqueness when you're with a big jewelry house. There is consistency there is power, there is marketing campaign, there is strong branding. All of that is very important, things that emerging designer doesn't have. But I would say in both cases, focusing on what the customer is asking for and creating pieces that will be timeless, that will have story. And then really, if you buy jewelry, you do want to pass it down to the next generation. And I think we have to, every time we make a piece or we sell a piece, we have to keep that in mind. Because if it's not if we're not going to sell it as valuable and rare unless we say here is the story, and here is now going to become your story. So take my story, turn it into your story, and pass it down to the next generation. So I would say focusing on telling the story for both parties.
Where's the biggest opportunity right now in the jewelry world?
Perhaps uniting a little more for one main goal. I find that there are too many organizations in our industry that focus on similar things, tap onto similar retailers, present concepts that will be much stronger if united. And I think if we have fewer of those associations and organizations with a bigger impact, we will be more successful in reaching the end consumer with the right message.
Tell us on the way out here about the most recent piece of jewelry you've bought for yourself.
Oh my God. I have the upgraded engagement ring.
Ooh.
I know, 20 years of marriage, so it was time to upgrade. Very
Came
lucky.
with the same spouse.
Same spouse,
okay.
Yes. Kept the original ring, yes. That was a question I was asked yesterday. Oh, I remember you had the 3-stone ring. I'm like, I still have it. And again, the meaning behind, so this is a very good example. Kept the original ring. I have a daughter, right? I'm sure at some point I'll get creative with it and pass it down in a shape or form that she would like to wear. But really, this is a Tiffany hardware, and that's my engagement ring, both in yellow, so that's a change. My original set was in platinum. At the time, platinum was the most rare / valuable metal. I'm switching a lot to gold now, and I continue being a big David Yurman fan. So you see my earrings.
The earrings are gorgeous. These are kind of a
this
firework.
Firework collection from the Yurmans, yes.
Fabulous. Yvette Stephanopoulos, thank you. Thank you for helping bring forth meaning and purpose and transparency into the jewelry world and taking our story to all corners of it. So nice to talk with you.
Thank you, Mark. Thank you for having me.
A pleasure. That's it for this episode of The Materialist. If you like what you heard, please like, rate, and subscribe to The Materialist wherever you get your podcasts. The Materialist is a presentation of At Present Matchmaker to Extraordinary Jewelry. We'll see you next time.